What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing the No Bubble subscriber challenge, where the aim is to undercharge as many charge attacks as possible in a single battle, while still emerging victorious. As always, you can see the scoring system on the right hand side of the screen, and again I've color coded the bonus points to make it a lot easier for you guys to follow along and understand exactly where the points are coming from. Now, after a suggestion from a subscriber in a previous video, I've actually decided not to run the battles in order of 10th to 1st, but instead to have them in a more random order to hopefully add more suspense to the video. After each battle, I'll add the updated rankings, and of course I'll show the final standings at the end of the video. Let me know what you think of this change, but obviously do wait until you've watched the video before commenting. Now, if you do want to find out about next week's challenge, I have actually announced this already in my Discord server, so if you're not part of the Discord, you should definitely consider joining via the link in the description, but otherwise I will be announcing next week's challenge at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for that. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What has been your favorite subscriber challenge to watch so far this season? Plus, if you have participated in any, which was your favorite to compete in? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the challenge now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we've got Dada Colbeck kicking things off in the Spring Cup. We've got a great lead for us, leading Shadow at Bomber Snow into Venusaur, and straight away we are going for a 0 bubble charge move. We get the 4 points and 2 bonus points there for, of course, having it shielded by the opponent. We're now going to shield the opponent, does bait with a Frenzy Plant, but that's okay. We're now going to overfarm, but the opponent makes a really nice catch there. Honestly, even if we fully charge this, it's not doing much damage. So again, we hit no bubbles before swapping into a Shadow Ferrothorn. Now, interestingly, we're actually going to go for a Thunder here. Thunder is going to be super effective damage. However, it does do slightly less damage than a Power Whip, so maybe we can throw more charge moves here. I guess that might be the play, but either way, we're going to get another 4 points there before once again committing to the Thunder, and again, not hitting a single bubble. So Thunder gets another 2 points with that shield and the 4 points for, of course, hitting no bubbles. So the opponent going to fire for charge move. We're now going to swap into our final Pokemon, a Shadow Amoonguss. Now, the opponent does outpace us to the charge move. We're going to no-shield this. Ice Beam is super effective, but Shadow Amoonguss, even in its shadow form, very bulky. The opponent reaches a last second charge move on the Venusaur, so of course, going to be shielding that up there. Now going to farm up nearly at 100 energy, going for Sludge Bomb, hitting no bubbles, getting 4 points, and then 4 bonus points for the KO there. Huge for us, and again, it looks like we're going to be able to do the exact same thing, hitting no bubbles, and again, another 8 points there for the KO. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Whiscash, and at this point, we are actually going to hit a few bubbles, going up to the Nice, still enough damage to get the KO, so 4 points overall, and finishing on 40 points in total. So, very good battle to start off with, of course, only battle so far, so by default they are at number 1 on the leaderboard, but either way, into the next battle, we got Maxipad, and we are leading Shadow Tentacruel into a Dugong. Now, I don't expect a shield from an Acid Spray here, but of course, not going to do much damage, so pretty easy to just no-bubble that, and get 4 points straight away. At this point, we're going to no-shield, call the bait. The opponent does actually full send a Drorunt, which is kind of unusual for Dugong users. But either way, we're now going for the Scald. Scald, going to do more damage. Again, no bubbles. So that's going to be another +4 there. But unfortunately, not enough damage to get the KO. So at this point, going to let the Icy Wind take us out there. We are now going to come in with our Ferrothorn, I believe. Ferrothorn does, of course, have Bullet Seed. Bullet Seed hitting for super effective damage. A bit of lag there. Maybe could have thrown a Mirror Shot and got a ton of points there. But either way, we get the full farm down. Still lagging, really not ideal for us, but eventually we can throw a charge move. Unfortunately, we do fully charge this, so no points at all for that charge move, but that's okay. We probably do need to start throwing, or at least hitting bubbles on some of the moves here, because we don't have very hard hitting moves at all. So at this point, we are going to no bubble. The opponent is going to shield, so 4 points for the no bubbles and 2 points for the shield. This time, we are going to fully bubble it once again, and the opponent does let that go through. So at this point, unfortunately, double shielding Sludge is there, but either way, we are now going to go for another Mirror Shot, and once again, going to no-bubble it. Mirror Shot is going to get another shield there, so that's 6 points, and then the opponent panic swaps out of that matchup and into their own Ferrothorn. This is a great matchup for Lurantis. The opponent just goes for a Power Whip there, potentially running Thunder as the other charge move, but either way, we can go for a Superpower. Again, no undercharge there, so 0 points, but we can now overfarm, going for a Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade actually double resisted, and we are debuffed, so we do hit a few bubbles there. So that's just +3 plus the bonus 3 points for the KO. Now we're fully undercharging his superpower, getting 4 points there, and then swapping, catching the charge move onto our Ferrothorn. The opponent goes for Sludge there, expecting it, of course, to land up against Lurantis. Now we can fully undercharge a Mirror Shot, and that's 8 points to finish, and we come out with 38 points in total. So, of course, that is going to put us in second place for now on 38 points, very close behind Dada Kolbeck in the lead. But into the next battle, we've got DD Tant Agda, I guess that's the name. Apologies if I've pronounced that wrong. But either way, kicking things off with a Shadow Galarian Weezing, going to fully undercharge the Brutal Swing, and the opponent does not shield the first charge move. I'm going to go for Brutal Swing, once again getting another 4 points there, and then swapping, catching the charge move onto a Shadow Amoonguss. The opponent fires off the surf, that is resisted damage, very nice. The opponent then comes in with a Tropius, and we are running Sludge Bomb, and we are going to go for a Great, so only 1 point, but we kind of need the damage there up against the Tropius, so at this point we're probably happy to let the Amoonguss go down. But the opponent goes for a Leaf Blade, that's double resisted, that allows us to hang on. We can now go for a Foul Play, fully undercharge, get 4 points there, and the 2 bonus points for, of course, grabbing a shield. We're now going to come back in with the Shadow Galarian Weezing. Going to shield the first charge move here. The opponent does just go for a Leaf Blade bait. And unfortunately, they do reach a last second charge move. If we'd have thrown there, we could have got 8 points. So honestly, a bit of a missed opportunity. But either way, we can now shield this as the opponent does have quite a lot of energy. They fire off the surf there. We're now going to go for 1 Fairy Wind, firing on good timing, hitting no bubbles once again. So getting 4 points there and doing the exact same thing once again. Brutal Swing is going to get another 4 points. And we're able to reach another Brutal Swing before they fully commit to farming us down. This one is shielded, so that's 6 points overall. They do farm us down, but if they don't throw straight away, Shadow Marwile gets the snipe there, and that's absolutely huge because Shadow Marwile is a very glassy Pokemon. At this point, we kind of got to hope that they've only got resisted moves, and they go for an Aerial Ace, so probably is the case. We can now go for Power Up Punch. We're not hitting any bubbles here. Power Up Punch gets us 4 points. Again, we can go for another Power Up Punch. Again, not hitting any bubbles whatsoever. Another 4 points on the board. We are very close to the leaderboard scores right now. We are going to go and, of course, reach a Iron Head, and we kind of need to hit some bubbles here. So we commit to a nice, but not more than that. And Iron Head gets the KO. So 2 points for the nice, and of course 2 points for the bonus. And that actually takes us into the lead with 41 points overall. Into next battle, we've got Ronva, and I think this is the first battle in the Ultra League. So we are going to see Cobalion, really dominant matchup into a Guzzlord. I'm going to go for the undercharge straight away, grabbing a shield, so 6 points immediately. We are going to no-shield this. They can only throw resisted charge moves. They then swap into Typhlosion. We're going to respond with our Annihilate, and at this point, we are going to definitely respect the damage here. The opponent full sends the Blast Burn. We go for 2 counters, fire off the Rage Fist, and once again, going to undercharge this fully, and again, grabbing a shield, so another 6 points there. We can definitely shield this, and we will now be able to go for a full counter farm down, but instead, we're going to look to maximize our points, firing at the last possible second, fully undercharging, and getting 8 points there for the 4 points for the full undercharge, and then 4 bonus points, and then the opponent comes back in with the Guzzlord. Now, we do hit a couple of bubbles there. I did see that, so that is 3 points and 3 more bonus points for the KO, and their final Pokemon is a Waterfall Samurott, so this should be a very comfortable matchup for the Giratina. 4 points straight away as we fully undercharge the Dragon Claw there. The opponent fires off the Hydro Cannon, doing very little damage. Honestly, our undercharged Dragon Claws look like they do more damage than that. But either way, Dragon Claw, once again, another 4 points. And we can really farm points up against the Samurott here, as they're just not doing much damage whatsoever. They go for Hydro Cannon. We go for 1 Shadow Claw, fire off another Dragon Claw. Again, no bubbles. Another 4 points for the Giratina, and able to reach another Dragon Claw here. And this will now put us in the lead on 42 points overall. At this point, we continue to overfarm. We're looking to put them into range where a fully undercharged move will get the KO. But now we can come back in with Cobalion, and we've definitely put them into that range. So no bubbles, gets the KO. That's 8 points, and finishing on a huge total of 50 points overall. So Ronva into the lead right now. Into next battle, we've got Endo Biscuit 999, picking up an amazing lead matchup for us, leading into Levani. So we are going to stay in this matchup, fire off the Sludge here, and we're going to no bubble it straight away. And again, then getting a shield with the first charge move, so easy 6 points for us. We're now going to shield this as the opponent fires off an Exeter. Honestly, did not need to shield that at all. They only have resisted charge moves, but at this point, we are not going to undercharge at all, and Overheat gets the one shot, but unfortunately, that's 0 points for us. So the opponent now comes in with the Dene. We are debuffed, but Sludge ends up grabbing a shield, and we hit no bubbles, so another 6 points there. They're making a really nice catch onto Ferrothorn to catch a resisted parabolic charge. At this point, we are now going to continue to overfarm. The opponent is going to swap out there, trying to make the catch, but that's okay. We commit to the flash cannon anyways. No bubble, so once again, another 4 points there. At this point, we're going to no-shield this. It should be another Exeter. Exeter does do a lot more damage up against the Ferrothorn since it is neutral. We're now going to go for the Power Whip, and we are actually going to go up to a Great there, so just a single point, but now we swap into our Lapras. Now, Lapras should be able to tank a Leaf Blade fairly comfortably here. The opponent will be able to reach 2 Leaf Blades before we do get a full farm down. So, of course, Leaf Blade number 2, all shields are down. It does do some decent damage, but now we're actually going to go and fire off a Sparkling Aria, and that does get the KO with 0 bubbles, so 8 points there. They come back in with the Dene, they fire off the Parabolic Charge, and they boost up their defense once again. So that is a little bit frustrating for us if we're wanting to undercharge in this matchup, but going to go for the Sludge here. We're going to go for a Great, so again, just going for a single point, but then swapping, making a brilliant catch there, and this will now allow us to reach a last second Sludge, and from this range, Sludge, we can no bubble it, it will get the KO, so that will be a huge 8 points to finish off the battle, but we do, however, finish on 34 points, and that is the lowest scoring battle so far. So going into the next battle, we've got Emerald Nightmare leading with Alola Muck into a Weavile back in the Ultra League. So we are going to stay in this matchup here, of course. These Snarls are hitting for resisted damage, so they can go for an Avalanche there, but they're never going to be able to fully farm us down. We're now going for the Acid Spray. Honestly, there's just no point in hitting any bubbles on an Acid Spray anyways, as it does minimal damage, but the opponent actually shields that up there. So huge, starting off with 6 points there. The opponent fires off the Avalanche. They then swap into Heatran, and we're going to debuff them immediately with the Acid Spray. Of course, this is going to be double resisted. It does not do much damage, but it doesn't really matter. It drops their defense, which is really handy for us because now we can comfortably undercharge these charge attacks, and it's still going to do some decent damage, and the Shadow Claws are starting to add up already. So we go for the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw going to get us 4 points as we don't hit a single bubble. And at this point, we can no-shield again. Giratina, very bulky, of course. The opponent does go for the Iron Head. They're not going to be able to farm us down. And actually, we put them into range where an undercharged Dragon Claw will get the KO. So huge 8 points for us as we take out the Heatran. We fire off the Dragon Claw immediately into Weavile coming back in. Dragon Claw gets them low, but we're actually able to reach another Dragon Claw here before they throw. So Dragon Claw, another 8 points. Giratina absolutely farming and able to reach another Dragon Claw as they come in with a Charge Beam Musharna there. What the heck is even this Pokemon? And because they're on Charge Beam, Giratina able to reach another Charge Beam. Giratina, what on earth is this? Able to grab the final shield as well, so 6 points there. We're already in the lead with 44 points. Oh, sorry, Ronva did get 50, so not quite in the lead yet, but we should be able to take the lead now with, of course, the opponent just going straight for Psyshock. Now, Musharna did actually get a double buff this season, which is really interesting with both Psyshock and Dazzling Gleam. However, this one clearly not on Dazzling Gleam, or they just don't know their typings because they have not thrown one yet. So this one, we're going to go for a Obstruct, of course, getting another 4 points there. And at this point, we probably should use our shield just in case they are running Dazzling Gleam and they've just been baiting a lot. But either way, they fire off another Psyshock here. Not going to do much damage whatsoever. And we should actually now be able to get off 2 more charge moves. So the first one here is not quite going to get the KO. So another 4 points. And then you can actually see the timer is coming up. But this fully undercharged Obstruct gets us to a huge total of 60 points. And that puts us way out in the lead here in first place. So very well done to Emerald Nightmare. But can anyone beat that score? Into next battle, we've got Ditto Me This GR leading with a Felstinger Drapion into Espeon. That's a very interesting strategy here, and the opponent is going to go for a Psychic Fangs. I don't have a clue why we shielded that. That is pretty obviously going to be a bait there, and actually, unless they're running Last Resort, which is pretty uncommon for Espeon, I say that like anyone uses Espeon anyways, but yeah, they're probably going to only have resisted charge moves, and we double shield there, which is one of the most questionable plays we've seen in the video so far. But either way, we're able to grab both shields there, fully undercharging both times. So on 12 points already, going for another Fell Stinger, another 4 points. But we throw on CMP, really poor charge move timing throughout this opening battle so far. But either way, we can go for another Fell Stinger, once again, fully undercharging. And that is going to get them fairly low. We're already on 20 points, but unfortunately, Powder Snow will be able to farm them down. They come in with a Swampert. We're going to go straight for Weather Ball, and again, not hitting a single bubble. Weather Ball not going to do much damage, but it does get us +4 on the scoreboard. We're now going to come in with our Drifblim, and the opponent is going to go for an Earthquake for some reason. That makes literally 0 sense. I don't have a clue why they've done that. Might be the worst battle I've ever seen, but they're still scoring high, so it is at least something. Either way, we're going to, of course, have to take the Frenzy Plant as we have no shields remaining, but we can again go for another no bubble, Icy Wind, get them very low, come in with the Alola Ninetales. We are going to settle for a nice this time around just to guarantee the KO, and we get 2 points there, plus the 2 bonus points for the knockout. They come back in with a Swampert. The opponent fires off the Hydro Cannon, so they had Hydro Cannon the entire time. They just randomly Earthquaked our Drifblim for the sake of it. Again, we're going for a nice, gets the KO, so 2 bonus points there, and we do finish on a total of 40 points. So not the highest level gameplay, but actually a pretty respectable score. Into next battle, we've got Gesso, and apologies for this battle looking a bit weird. They sent it on a tablet, so I have stretched it, and it just looks very funny to me. But either way, we are going to go straight for a Thunderbolt here with our Melmetal, and we're just going to go for a Great. So just a single point so far, but that's okay. We are now going to bait with a double Iron Bash, expecting to grab a shield. So we're going to hit no bubbles whatsoever. So we get 4 points and the 2 bonus points for it being shielded. At this point, we're going to shield a Sparkling Aria. They swap into Galvantula, and we can respond with our Skeledirge. At this point, of course, we can no-shield this. Discharge does respectable damage there, but we can now outpace them to a Blast Burn, and even with no bubbles, this should get the KO. So we get 4 points there, and 2 bonus points once again for that shield. The opponent fires off the Discharge there. We can now commit to a full Incinerate farm down. They come back in with the Lapras, and we're going to go for another Blast Burn. This time, going for an Ice, but it actually doesn't quite get the KO there. We miss out on 2 bonus points, which is really unfortunate, but they're going to come in with a Corviknight. We're going straight for Blast Burn, hitting 0 bubbles once again, getting 4 points there. Going to swap into Melmetal just to farm some more points here, going for the double Iron Bash. Undercharging it once again to 4 more points. The opponent will fire for Charge Move, but they're on payback, so that actually gets the KO there. But we can come in with our final Pokemon, a Feraligatr. At this point, we are going to go up to a nice, throwing just before we get to a Great there, actually. But either way, we still get 2 points, and we have put them into range where we should be able to go for a Hydro Cannon at the last second, and we can fully undercharge this, of course. So, of course, this is going to be 4 points, and then 4 bonus points for the KO, finishing on a point tally of 33 points, which is unfortunately the lowest score so far, but still very good to make it into the top 10. And now going into the next battle, we got Debunked, and we are going to see Mantine into Clefable. So we're going to say swap straight away into Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn going to be on Acid Spray, which is really cool to see. We are going to no-shield the first move. They actually go for Dazzling Gleam, which is not a recommended move for Clefable, but actually, that is quite an interesting move there. Did get buffed this season. We're able to grab a shield with an undercharged Acid Spray, so huge for us. We can now go for another Acid Spray. They're probably not going to double shield straight away, so they don't. But either way, we've got 10 points already, and now we can go for a Power Whip. They are double or quad debuffed in their defense, so even fully undercharged, that does quite a lot of damage. The opponent fires off a Skull Bash there, boosting up their defense by 1 stage, but either way, they're still triple debuffed in that defense. We can reach a last second Power Whip here. Power Whip gets the KO, so 8 more points on the board. They then come in with a Zen Headbutt Shaman. What the heck is even that? We're going to go for a Bubble Beam here. Bubble Beam, fully undercharged once again, getting in another 4 points there. The opponent is going to go and fire off a Charge Move. At this point, we're actually going to shield this as they do full send a Dazzling Gleam once again. We can now go for another Bubble Beam, once again, fully undercharging this, not doing much damage whatsoever, but we are going to, of course, no shield this time around. The opponent is going to go for another Dazzling Gleam there. That's okay. We're now going to start going for Aerial Ace, as it's going to do slightly more damage, although since we're hitting no bubbles, it actually doesn't do much damage whatsoever. But either way, unfortunately, losing CMP here. but Dazzling Gleam doesn't quite get the KO there because of all the Bubble Beam debuffs, so able to go for another full undercharge, getting 4 more points on the board, sniping with an Astonish Marwile. They come back in with the Shaman, and honestly, I don't know the counts for Shaman on Zen Headbutt, so we go for Power Punch. We grab a shield there with the fully undercharged Power Up Punch, and we're going to put them into range where, since we're boosted, no bubbles on the Iron Head, easily gets the KO, so 8 more points and finishing on a total of 52, but not quite enough to get them into first place. Emerald Nightmare still on top. We've got one final battle. Can Pro Beans Eater get the win here, or will Emerald Nightmare get another win in a subscriber challenge? Anyways, leading Ferrothorn into Ferrothorn, so this is actually a really good matchup to get a ton of points because both Ferrothorn are going to be doing very minimal damage here. The opponent is going to overfarm quite a lot here. We go for 2 Acid Sprays, 4 points 2 times around already. They are still overfarming. They've gone like to 150 plus energy at this point. I don't even know what the heck they're doing. They finally throw a charge move. They've just wasted so much energy there. I don't understand that play whatsoever. I guess maybe hoping that we'd swap out or something. I don't know. But either way, they go for another Power Whip here. Of course, they must be running like Mirror Shot as the other charge move because Power Whip is double resisted. Either way, we go for another another double resisted Power Whip, and the opponent actually shielded that. So insane farming so far. They swap into Wigglytuff, and this is really nice for us. We can go for another Acid Spray, getting 4 points there as we hit 0 bubbles, and going for another Acid Spray here. And this one grabs a shield again, so getting so many points already in this battle. They are now quad debuffed in their defense. We come in with the Mantine, hitting 0 bubbles with the Bubble Beam, dropping their attack, but still, we probably should be shielding this up. So we are going to shield, and the opponent goes for a Play Rough there. That is huge for us. Now they're not going to reach another charge move. We're going to throw an Airy Lace at the last second here. No bubbles. It gets the KO. So 8 more points. We're already up to 40. Can Pro Beans Eater get the win here? We are going to see a Power Whip coming through. Again, going for a Bubble Beam, hitting 0 bubbles. Bubble Beam is going to get another 4 points on the board. We're then going to swap, force the opponent to throw their energy. Otherwise, we would reach an Acid Spray. So the opponent goes for Power Whip there. Power Whip is going to get the KO from that range. We come in with our final Pokemon, a Jellicent, and unfortunately, we don't have any shields in place. So Power Whip does do quite a lot of damage. We can now go for a Shadow Ball here, throwing just before they reach the next charge. We're going to fully undercharge this, and Shadow Ball gets the KO. That's 8 more points. They come in with a Tentacruel. Can we actually win this game, though? They are pretty healthy here. We're going for a full undercharge on the Bubble Beam, but the switch timer, or sorry, the actual battle timer is coming up, and now all we need to do is throw a last second charge move. And if you didn't know, if you finish a battle with more Pokemon still alive than your opponent, even if they've got a lot more HP, you end up winning the game, and as a result, we finish tied in first place with 60 points. So well done to everyone that made it into the video, but a massive congratulations to both Emerald Nightmare and Pro Beans Eater, both finishing in first place with a total of 60 points overall. Now it's time to announce next week's challenge, and I do want to mention I wanted to set this challenge in the Open Great League so that we get a chance to see a lot more variety in the submissions, but unfortunately all the other challenges I have planned out so far will be even more restricted during next week's league rotation, so we're just gonna have to live with it. But anyways, I can now announce the self-sabotage challenge. The aim of this challenge is to debuff yourself as many times as possible in a single battle while still emerging victorious. You will earn 2 points for every stage debuff that you apply to yourself. So for example, a Wild Charge will give you 4 points and a Brave Bird will give you 6 points. You can also earn a bonus point for every stage debuff that's applied by an opponent's charge attack. You will, however, lose 2 points for every stage buff that you apply to yourself. The maximum number of debuffs that can be applied to any stat before swapping out is 4, so if you throw 2 Brave Birds in the same life, you'll get 6 points for the first one, but unfortunately you will only get 2 points for the second, as you can only debuff your defense by 1 more stage. You can reset any debuffs by swapping out, and this will not impact your final score. Once again, you'll be able to compete in both the Spring Cup or the Master League, so choose whichever one you think is going to be best for this challenge. But of course, if you don't have the resources to compete in the Master League, I guess the Spring Cup will be the best option for you. Now, if you think any adjustments need to be made to the scoring system for next week's challenge, please let me know in the comments ASAP, as I'm open to making changes based on your feedback, but you need to be quick as I'll be officially announcing the challenge in a community post tomorrow. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.